You know, for all the incredible advances we've made in medicine, there's always been this one tragic fundamental limit. It's a problem of supply and demand, really. And for millions of people around the world, the consequences are just heartbreaking. And it really boils down to this brutal truth. For anyone with irreversible heart, liver, or kidney failure, the only real hope is getting on a transplant list. And it's just this tragic waiting game, dictated by the arithmetic of biology. And so many people never get that call.
But what if we could just completely flip that script? Not by finding more donors, but by building a new organ from the ground up. An organ made from your own cells, with literally zero chance of rejection. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? Well, it is way closer than you think. So let's dive in. Yeah, this isn't science fiction. This is the whole mission behind a truly revolutionary field called regenerative medicine. And its goal is huge, to shift medicine from just repairing the body to actually manufacturing brand new parts for it. Okay, so how in the world do you even begin to build a body part? Well, it turns out scientists have this kind of toolkit with 3 really incredible and pretty distinct ways of doing it. Let's check them out. All right, first up, we've got something called organoids. The best way to think of these is like mini organs. And I don't just mean a random clump of cells. No. These are tiny but functional systems that actually organize themselves into structures that act just like the real thing. They're basically small-scale blueprints for an actual organ. And get this isn't some in-the-future idea. It is happening right now. I mean, in labs all over the world, you can find little brain organoids that produce electrical signals. You can see heart organoids that literally beat in a petri dish, and liver organoids that can detoxify things. It's wild. And they're already using them to test drugs more safely and even create personalized medicine using a patient's own cells to figure out the best treatment. Okay, next tool in the box, bioprinting. And this one is actually pretty easy to grasp because it works just like a 3D printer. The only difference? Instead of plastic filament, the ink cartridge is filled with something called bioink, which is basically living cells mixed into a kind of scaffolding gel. And the process itself is super systematic. First, you create a digital model of whatever you're trying to build. Then you get that bioink ready. Then the printer just prints, meticulously building the structure, layer by tiny layer. After that, you take the printed tissue and you put it in this special incubator, a bioreactor, to let it mature into a real functional piece of tissue, like cartilage or skin, or even part of a liver. Now, the third approach, this one might be the most ingenious of them all. It's called decellularization. What you do is you take a donor organ, let's say from a pig, and you basically give it a deep clean. You wash out all the original cells. And what you're left with is this perfect, almost ghostly white scaffold made of collagen. It's the organ's entire blueprint, just empty. And that's the genius of it, right? Instead of trying to build something as ridiculously complex as a kidney from scratch, scientists are just borrowing nature's perfect design. They take that empty scaffold, and then they seed it with a patient's own stem cells. Those cells then move in, repopulate the whole thing, and turn it into a brand new organ that's a perfect genetic match. It's brilliant. And again, this isn't just a cool idea on a whiteboard. We've already seen this work in humans, in experimental cases. They've had success with things like tracheas, bladders, and even heart valves. It's this incredible blend of nature's design and art engineering, and it's already helping people. Okay, but let's be real for a second. Building a full-on, complex, functional organ is one of the toughest puzzles in all of biology. So let's talk about the big hurdles that scientists are still trying to get over. You see, building an organ isn't just about getting the shape right. The real challenge is plumbing. It's life support. Every single cell in that new organ needs a blood supply. That process is called vascularization. And if you can't build that incredibly intricate network of tiny blood vessels, the tissue can't get oxygen, can't get nutrients, and it just dies. Honestly, that right there is probably the single biggest bottleneck in the whole field. And then there's just the raw mechanical challenge. I mean, think about it. Can a bioprinted heart really handle the stress of beating 40 million times a year, every single year, without failing? That's the kind of staggering engineering problem we're talking about here. So, with all these massive challenges, you're probably wondering, how close are we? Like, really? Well, let's look at a realistic timeline based on where the science is today. Right now, today, things like lab-grown skin and cartilage are already a clinical reality. In the very near term, we're seeing more and more success with simpler structures, like those tracheas and bladders. But the big prize, the full-scale complex organs, like a heart or a kidney for transplant, that's realistically still about 10 to 20 years out. And that sci-fi dream of just printing an organ on demand in the ER, yeah, that's still a very distant dream.
But let's just pause on that number for a second. 10 years. It might sound like a long time, but if you're someone on a transplant list today, 10 years isn't some abstract future. It's a finish line. It's everything. It's hope. What we're talking about here is a truly fundamental shift in what medicine even is. We are literally moving from an age of just repairing the body to an age of manufacturing new parts for it. Think about that. We're going from waiting for a donor to growing the cure. And all of this points to a really profound new reality. A future where organ failure isn't a death sentence anymore. It's a mechanical problem. A temporary failure of a part that for the first time in history, we might actually be able to replace.